William Baker, also known as Flint Marko, is a formidable foe thanks to his unique ability to control sand. First off, he can transform his entire body into sand. Imagine him shifting from a solid form to flowing sand, capable of molding into various shapes like giant fists or swirling sandstorms. It's like fighting a living tornado, unpredictable and dangerous. Sandman can also adjust the density of his sandy form, making him as hard as concrete or as light as a puff of smoke. Trying to physically harm him is akin to hitting a sturdy sandcastle. It's tough and not very effective. His durability is remarkable. Even if he's blasted into pieces, he can regenerate himself, returning to form like nothing happened. It's like playing whack-a-mole with sand. Defeating him once doesn't mean he's gone for good. But here's where it gets tricky. Sandman isn't limited to manipulating his own sandy body. He can control any sand nearby. This means he can create sandstorms, barriers, or even bury his enemies alive. It's like battling the entire Sahara Desert with bare hands, exhausting and futile. Moreover, he can absorb more sand to increase his size and strength, becoming an even greater threat. He's like a walking sand magnet, constantly growing and replenishing his power. So, Sandman is tough, adaptable, and not to be underestimated. Facing him requires a solid plan and careful strategy. Thankfully, I have a few tricks up my sleeve. My contingency for Sandman heavily relies on one thing only. Let me explain. While William Baker, aka Sandman, might seem unstoppable with his sand manipulation powers, he's got a significant weakness, and it's water. Water affects Sandman in a unique way. It doesn't just get him wet, it softens his sandy form, making it harder for him to control. It's like trying to sculpt with wet sand. It loses its shape and structure. This weakness isn't just a temporary inconvenience, it can completely neutralize him. Enough water can cause his sand particles to clump together, essentially immobilizing him. It's like turning him into a heavy sandbag, sluggish and ineffective. But it's not as simple as dousing him with water. Sandman is no fool. He'll do everything to avoid it. We're going to saturate the battlefield. We've got water-based projectiles ready to go, along with high-pressure sprayers. Our goal is to soak Sandman from every angle, turning the area into a flood zone. When he's soaked through and through, his sandy form will soften and make it harder for him to control his sand body. Sandman may seem formidable, but even he has his vulnerabilities, and one of the biggest is extreme heat. Our plan involves using specialized heat emitters, capable of reaching temperatures up to 3,400 degrees Fahrenheit or 1871 degrees Celsius. Now, why does heat work so effectively against him? Well, it's all about his composition. Sandman's sandy body is highly impure silicate, which means it's susceptible to melting and fusing under intense heat. It's like exposing him to a blast furnace. His sandy form loses its cohesion and becomes molten glass. But it's not just about melting him down. The intense heat also disrupts his ability to control his sand. It's like trying to manipulate molten glass. It's too fluid and unpredictable to shape or control effectively. This leaves Sandman vulnerable and disoriented, unable to mount a coherent defense. For execution on foot, a bat blaze can be used. It is a lighter-sized tank made from supermanium and filled with highly synthesized form of compressed petroleum. With unbreakable metal and industrial-sized compressor, it achieves frightening capability in terms of infernos. It is so capable that on max setting it can set ablaze an entire football field in a matter of seconds. This device is a real deal. It can cover the area around Sandman with flammable liquid. With just a spark, we can ignite the area, turning it into an inferno that Sandman won't be able to escape. It also provides a controlled inferno for a small area which can last for hours. This synthesized petroleum burns hotter and longer than regular fuels. It creates a wall of fire, trapping Sandman in a ring of flames. It's like creating a firewall barrier that he can't break through. But it's not just about the flames. The intense heat will also weaken Sandman, making him more vulnerable to our attacks. We can also cool Sandman down immediately after the bat blaze reaches its maximum temperature with water projectiles. This rapid cooling process will solidify the molten glass, trapping Sandman in a brittle and vulnerable neutralized state. I've been digging through every record on Sandman that I could find, and I stumbled upon a fascinating discovery: the existence of a soul particle within his sandy form. This particle holds the key to a weakness that could turn the tide of our battle against him. Sandman's consciousness is absorbed in this soul particle during his accident. It's like his brain inside of a grain of sand, controlling the rest of his sandy body. If we can isolate and manipulate this particle, we can disrupt Sandman's control over his sand and render him powerless. This soul particle isn't just any ordinary piece of sand. It's imbued with the essence of Sandman himself, containing his very identity and consciousness. It's like finding a needle in a haystack, small, elusive, but incredibly powerful. It seems Sandman can move it around, consciously or not, constantly shifting its location to keep it safe. Sandman can't hide it forever. We just need to be smart about it. By studying his moves and behavior, we can predict where he'll move the soul particle next. And that's where Wayne Tech's Bat Reader comes into play. This gadget is a game changer. It's equipped with almost every sensor imaginable and is directly tied to the Bat computer for lightning-fast calculations. By combining all the data it collects, the Bat Reader can track the soul particle's movements in real time. But we're not stopping there. We can mount the Bat Reader onto the Bat Isolator, a device that shoots pipe projectiles capable of isolating the soul particle from Sandman's body. Once isolated, we can trap it in a containment unit, leaving Sandman powerless and at our mercy. In reviewing Sandman's files, another significant discovery emerged: his deep care for his daughter, Penny. This presents a potential leverage point in our approach. Upon confronting Sandman, the primary strategy will be to offer him a path to redemption through his daughter. The Wayne Foundation will step in, providing Penny with financial support and employment when she becomes an adult, thereby removing any financial motivations behind Sandman's criminal acts. The aim is to persuade him to surrender and begin anew for the sake of his daughter. However, if Sandman rejects this offer and goes berserk, we must be prepared to take decisive action to neutralize him effectively. Utilizing our arsenal of gadgets and tactics, we will incapacitate him to prevent further harm. I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman!